Hello there my dear friends and welcome back to another Star Wars video. It is I coming at you once again, your favourite galactic hostess, Star Wars Meg. And today, we've got two major updates that concern the two biggest Skywalkers, Luke and Anakin. An update from Mark Hamill, and an update that is eyebrow-raising from Hayden Christensen. Let's begin with the former. Mark Hamill just opened up about a massive error that was made in The Force Awakens. So, Mark has been opening up every few weeks or so about what it was like working on the sequel trilogy. And you've probably noticed, when he talks about the sequels, he's mainly talking about Episode 8. We've heard so many insights from the actor about what it was like working with Rian Johnson, and the most recent revelation which we spoke about concerned Luke's death. Both the poetry of it and its absurdity. But someone you don't really hear Mark talk about is JJ Abrams, who arguably made even worse decisions than Rian Johnson. And funnily enough, both sides of the argument would agree with this. JJ Abrams is the person who put Luke Skywalker on that island. He's the one who isolated him. So when it came time for Rian to try and explain it, sure he didn't do a good job and had Luke throw the lightsaber over his shoulder, but he was still working within the framework of what JJ wrote in Episode 7. And for fans of The Last Jedi, JJ Abrams undid so many story points from Episode 8 in The Rise of Skywalker. So, from both points of view, even both sides of sequel fandom, there are so many frustrations with JJ's vision. And now Mark Hamill has opened up about it, and he's just confirmed something Star Wars fans have suspected for years. The most audacious comment that JJ Abrams told him when they started production. It concerns the missed opportunity of having a reunion between Luke, Leia, and Han. And over the years, people have said, well, it was a missed opportunity, but the way episodes 7, 8, and 9 was structured didn't allow for it. Han had a premature death in episode 7, and Luke kind of had a reunion with his sister in episode 8. Although, I suppose you could say he wasn't physically there. But now we know the decision was set from the word go. JJ refused a reunion, even when it was proposed to him. So this comes from The Hollywood Reporter, where Mark said, quote, "I said to them, are we not going to have a moment where all three of us get together to raise the roof? It'll only take like 30 seconds. And JJ responded, well Mark, it's not Luke's story anymore. And honestly, the fact he was so direct about this is a huge slap in the face. But it also reflects where Lucasfilm was 10 years ago. They were trying to do away with the old Star Wars, the fan-favourite characters, killing them off one by one, and they were also certain fans were going to love the new characters like Rey. And generally as a fandom, many of us were excited for where her story was going to go in episode 8, but we were still there primarily for the old crew, seeing Luke, Han and Leia back. I mean, they marketed the hell out of them. It's really bad faith of Lucasfilm because I think they knew this. I think they knew that while fans wanted great new characters, the biggest pull was the prospect of the 3, or should I say 4, original heroes. And of course in retrospect, the new characters were nowhere near as good. And so this approach backfired immensely. And there really was no excuse. And I could sit here and ramble about the expanded universe and the Thrawn trilogy, how we were expecting something from Legends, but they'd already decanonized it, and the actors Mark, Harrison and Carrie were already older. So if we're being honest, I don't think we were expecting Luke in his Return of the Jedi form, but it seems to me that a reunion, them fighting together one last time, should not have been this much to ask. And this is why, to this day, no matter what's coming up, no matter how exciting the future content is, you still find fans who say, well, it doesn't matter, because they robbed us of the one job Disney Star Wars should have done from the word go. Reunite these characters not in a comic, not in the Mandoverse with CG and deepfake, while all three of them were still alive, in the same room, maybe fighting one last time. And I don't blame anyone who holds that opinion. Say what you will about Mark, but I'm glad he revealed this. I'm glad the truth has finally come out. Those words should have never left JJ's mouth. But moving on, my dear friends, maybe something more hopeful. We're going to be talking about something which I didn't think I'd make a video about, but this got really big on social media today, and since I've been talking about other updates, other developments in the Han for Ben Solo situation, why not? And the update in question has been rather contentious. Some fans think it means absolutely nothing, while others say it gives us another piece of the puzzle, not just for Ben Solo, but for other projects in the works. So we're talking about Hayden Christensen, Anakin Skywalker himself, one of my favourite characters, one of my favourite actors, and Hayden was asked this: what advice would the Force ghost of Anakin give to his grandson Kylo Ren? And Hayden's response has sparked a lot of division. He responded with a laugh, and then repeated, I don't know. People who read this said that those who think this means anything to do with the hunt for Ben Solo are entirely delusional. I've seen some fans say he's not the biggest sequel fan, so he wasn't trying to avoid the question, he was just being very straight up. He didn't know. But he was being a bit avoidant, and then very quickly he added, "Next question." Now here's my take. I watched the entire thing, and originally I was of the opinion that this is probably a nothing burger. I have no doubts Hayden was probably approached for the Ben Solo movie if they were dealing with the netherworld of the Force, like the comic, and there are some theories as to whether the Legacy of Vader comics were supposed to be a prelude, but I simply thought he was just being straight up and said, I don't know. But then I remembered, hang on a minute, Hayden Christensen has a long track record dating back to 2019, where he expressed his love for the character of Kylo Ren. It could have just been because Hayden has a vocal cameo in The Rise of Skywalker, but even in 2022 during the Kenobi show, he brought him up. And a couple of times Hayden has alluded to the fact he has wondered about the relationship between Ben Solo and Anakin's ghost. It's not something he avoided in the past. My judgment is that people might still be overthinking this, but I did find his response and the way he wanted to move on a bit strange. Now, to be honest, I think Hayden is way more concerned with Ahsoka Season 2 at this point, even if he knew something originally about the hunt for Ben Solo. There is of course the possibility Hayden features in something outside the Mandoverse, but in this instance, it's 50-50. It did seem a bit unusual for Hayden. He's never this avoidant. It'd be different if he was like, I wasn't a fan of the sequels because we know he prefers, the Clone Wars and prequels. It'd be different if this was the very first time he was asked about Ben Solo, but Hayden has a track record of talking about Kylo. For me, it's a very similar red flag to what Mark Hamill said a few months ago, when he came out and he said, I'd love to see a Star Wars movie based in the netherworld of the Force. People kind of put two and two together. There were allusions to the netherworld of the Force, Kylo Ren visiting it, in the Legacy of Vader comics, the older iteration of Luke was there, and so was the outline of Anakin, Qui-Gon, and Obi-Wan. And so, I have to wonder if Hayden was originally in those plans. And if it's true, then maybe the reason he can't talk about it is he doesn't know the full status of what's going to happen to that story, even if the hunt for Ben Solo itself has been canned. Or so we think. With all of the recent developments between Bob Iger, Alan Bergman, Kathleen Kennedy, the recent news of Kathleen Kennedy's departure, which we're still waiting on, it's just proven how little we as the fans are told. But Hayden's big priority at the moment is Ahsoka Season 2, and according to some of those very exciting early rumours, Anakin is going to be fighting as a Force ghost. Also very much looking forward to more Shadow Lord, and make sure to check out my last video for the latest updates on that. But that pretty much wraps up all of today's news, my friends. What do you think? And share your thoughts on all of it in the comments down below. And if you enjoyed this video, please be sure to give me a big fat thumbs up, subscribe if you're new, and may the Force be with you always.